that become solutions to the world's most pressing concerns. Innovation and creativity are the sparks that ignite to transform lives and society, and these need space to grow.
We are home to these creative and innovative sparks. Our work goes beyond the disciplines, across our 9 faculties, 7 campuses, and being one of Africa's top business schools. As an African global university, we stand proudly among the world's top universities. We remain at the forefront of universal discoveries and provide authentically African solutions to the world's greatest challenges and opportunities. We are pioneers in our fields, from the humanities to cutting-edge technologies, continually seeking ways to improve the world around us. Our hybrid learning systems provide quality education that enables graduates to become adaptable game changers. We have molded nearly 500,000 alumni who have made their mark locally and internationally, and we continue to inspire and equip our students to uphold our firmly rooted culture of excellence. At the heart of what we do is our people. They are creative, critical thinkers who can shape society for the better, because that is how we teach, learn, innovate, impact, and live. We are the University of Pretoria.
Let us start the meeting by establishing whether we have a quorum. Just to inform everyone that according to clear guidelines and the institutional rules, it requires 100 members of the Convocation to constitute a quorum for any meeting of the Convocation. Either the President of the Convocation or the Vice Chancellor and Principal or their duly appointed representatives and at least 99 other members of the Convocation must be present for a quorum to be constituted. If a meeting is not quorate, the meeting will be postponed for 30 minutes, after which the meeting may continue if there are 50 members present. And surely we did expect to have a quorum from the more than 300,000 members worldwide. And I have been notified that we have a quorum and can be recorded as such, and therefore the meeting can continue as duly constituted. Before we move on to item number 2 of the agenda, I would just like to also convey the apologies of the Registrar, Professor Nicholson, as she, due to travelling commitment, is unfortunately not able to physically attend the meeting. I'm sure all other official apologies that were received have been recorded. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like us then to continue with item 2 of the agenda and start off by officially welcoming all Convocation members and the University of Pretoria alumni across the globe that made time to join and attend the live virtual 2022 Convocation AGM meeting this evening. In particular, a warm welcome also to the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University, Professor Tawana Kupe, together with Ms. Notsifo Dlamini, Deputy Chairperson of the Convocation Advisory Board, who both joined me in the studio tonight and are participating in this evening's AGM program. And in her absence, the Registrar of the University of Pretoria, Professor Caroline Nicholson, as well as a special welcome to the members of the university's executive. At the same time, I also want to welcome my fellow advisory board members and once again express my appreciation for making yourself available in voluntarily serving in this capacity and for your continued support to the University of Pretoria. Since the last AGM, a vacancy for one board member was also left by the tragic passing of the late Mr. Louis Klute and had to be filled. Therefore, I am pleased to announce that this vacancy on the board has been filled in the meantime by the appointment of Mr. Daniel Elof, who is a director of a well-known law firm in Pretoria. His appointment was based on the outcome of the recent voting process and the consideration of all other relevant criteria by the members of the committee. Please now also allow me to then introduce you to the current Convocation Advisory Board members by reading out their names. First, Ms. Notsifo Dlamini, she's the Deputy Chairperson of the Convocation Advisory Board. Professor Tawana Kupe as Vice Chancellor and Principal. Then Professor Caroline Nicholson as Registrar. Then the other members, Mr. Winston Campbell, Mr. Aubakwe Monge, Mr. Chris Fismer, Mr. Davi de Villiers, Mr. Ditkot Dakeme, Mr. Johan Scholes, Mr. Paul Sali, Mr. Vegele Mackenzie, Ms. Lucia Lesolang, Ms. Nomsa Shlongwane, and Mr. Daniel Elof. Before I continue to introduce the two other official participants of this evening's AGM program and shortly share with you their summarized biographies, may I also please encourage all Convocation members that have not sent questions earlier to post any questions you may have in the comment box. I apologize if we may not be able to address all the questions, but it gives us an idea what Convocation members want to know and concerns they may have. At this time, as chairperson of this meeting and before I give my president's address first, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the other two participants of this meeting in order of their participation tonight on the program. First, Professor Tawana Kupe, who is our Vice Chancellor and Principal. He has been Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Pretoria since January 2019. He holds a master's degree in English from the University of Zimbabwe and a PhD in Media Studies from the University of Oslo, Norway. 2 honorary doctorates have been bestowed on him, one in Humanities from the Michigan State University in December 2019, and more recently an honorary doctorate from the University of Montpellier in France. Professor Kupe has been the Africa co-chair of the Australia-Africa Universities Network since 2019. He has a notable publication record, having authored journals, articles, books, and book chapters in his primary discipline, which is media studies and journalism. Over the years, Professor Kupe has played a vital role in establishing innovative initiatives at the University of the Witwatersrand, the latest being the Africa Center for the Study of the United States in 2018. He's an active member of several civil society organizations, including the Amabungane Center for Investigative Journalism, and has been chairman of the Board of Media Monitoring Africa since 2005. He's also co-chairperson of the Kifra Prize Selection Committee, coordinated by the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences in Rwanda. Professor Kupe is a member of the Council of the International Association of Media and Communication Research and the Association of Commonwealth University Council. He's a sought-after speaker, academic expert, and regular commentator on media performance issues on radio, television, and print publications for local and international media. He has also been a columnist for several newspapers and magazines in South Africa. Next is Ms. Notsifo Dlamini, who's the Deputy Chairperson of the Convocation Advisory Board. Now, she's a mining engineer with more than 13 years of experience in the mining sector. She's a technical service manager at South Africa's most productive underground coal mine and leads a diverse team of professionals that includes mining engineers, geologists, surveyors, rock engineers, environmentalists, and business improvement change agents. The team continues to set new benchmarks in challenging conditions by applying innovative solutions and a high-performance culture. As a trained Lean Six Sigma black belt, she has a passion for improving business performance and processes and has won a Best Improvement Project Award. Ms. Dlamini has lectured on quality management at the University of Pretoria's Graduate School of Technology Management, where she continues to supervise and examine master's research dissertations each year. Through her several accomplishments, Ms. Dlamini continues to have a growing impact in the coal mining sector, challenging the status quo in a male-dominated industry. She serves as Vice President of the South African Colliery Managers Association, a professional body for managers across the coal industry, and is the first woman to hold this position in the organization's 40-year history. She also serves on several advisory boards in academia and industry. Ms. Dlamini holds a B Engineer in Mining Engineering, along with honors and master's degrees in Technology Management, all obtained at the University of Pretoria. Let us move on to the next item then, which is the item 3 on the agenda, where we need to get confirmation of the minutes of the previous AGM meeting. Now, I will take the minutes of the previous AGM meeting, which was circulated before the meeting, as read. Are there any amendments anybody wanted to suggest or has suggested? And is there anything that is not a true reflection of what had been discussed and decided? If not, I then confirm that the minutes with no amendments were a true reflection of what had been discussed and decided, and ask for a motion to accept the minutes and someone to second that motion. Thank you, Professor Coupe, for accepting the motion, and Ms. Dlamini for seconding the motion. Let us then move on to the next item, which is item 4 on the agenda, where we need to get consideration of the agenda and a motion to accept the agenda. Can I ask once again for a motion to consider the agenda and someone to second that motion, please? Again, thank you, Professor Coupe, for accepting the motion and Ms. Dlamini for seconding the motion. Then we can move on to item 5 of the agenda, which gives me the honor to address you this evening with my annual President's Address. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and privilege to continue to serve as President of the Convocation of such an esteemed establishment, and gives me great pleasure to address the University of Pretoria Convocation members worldwide in my second AGM as President and Chairperson of this meeting, which is also the second AGM under a new governance structure, which I have addressed in more detail in my 2021 AGM address. As South Africa and the world enter the third year of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is a relief to note that since our last AGM meeting, and by mid-2022, remaining restrictions had been dropped, paving the way of contact teaching and learning as well as in-person graduation ceremonies, and for a return to in-person events while also continuing to make use of online and hybrid events, which most office workers have become accustomed to since March 2020. Since the 2021 AGM was the first AGM under a new governance structure, I last year thought it was important to focus on the background of historic events that resulted in the establishment of the university's new convocation structure. I further focused on the election process, structures, purpose, vision, role, strategic goals, and also the envisioned new future of the convocation and its advisory board, and what key items the advisory board were addressing at the time. Therefore, those of you that may have missed my presentation last year can refer to the minutes of the meeting that present a good summary of the content of my address. The primary focus of my address this evening will be to elaborate on the role of especially alumni, by far largest constituency within the convocation and alumni structures, and the important contributions they can make through various official channels towards the entire University of Pretoria community, thereby promoting the interest of the institution and provide formal and structured support and input. I would also like to focus on a number of strategic goals and new initiatives aimed at further boosting relations and engaging our alumni, and touch on new projects on the radar of the Alumni Relations Office for 2023. Then I will conclude with some brief feedback from the 2 advisory board meetings held since our last AGM on key areas that have been and still are addressed. I will leave most of the bragging rights of the many achievements of the UP students and graduates and key projects for the Vice-Chancellor to report back on in his address after mine. I'm sure he will elaborate on the continuing good news in relation to UP's research and rankings, and also UP excelled in the field of sport this year by winning various sporting competitions, both in South Africa and internationally. Now, as an introduction and a reminder for those that may still not know, the Convocation is a legally constituted body that includes more than 300,000 alumni of the university as its largest constituency. In fact, the University of Pretoria Alumni Relations Office has details of 313,918 alumni who live in 132 countries. Of those, we have permission to contact 156,000 alumni via email. Most of our alumni, approximately 81%, live in South Africa, of whom 58% live in Gauteng. Outside Africa, our biggest international alumni presence is in the USA, UK, and Australia. It is also worthy to note that the Alumni Relations Office reported 321 active alumni mentor relationships in 2022. The Convocation Advisory Board is the overarching advisory body elected by all Convocation members that meets at least twice a year and functions mainly as an advisory body of the university and the Vice-Chancellor and Principal. A primary objective of the board is to further ensure that all alumni and other Convocation members work together to build a dynamic alumni community and also supports the university in its fundraising efforts. Alumni are simultaneously internal and external stakeholders of the university, and therefore I believe it's imperative for UP alumni to give back to the university, which again requires a credible alumni structure. I once again encourage all alumni to invest your knowledge and experience in your alma mater, to cultivate and nurture a sense of cohesion, belonging and loyalty, not only amongst yourselves as alumni, but also towards the university. The university needs to continuously draw on your matured network and expertise to the benefit of the institution and current cohort of students. Important for all alumni to know is that the Alumni Relations Office is the functional and management unit responsible for all alumni support. It is the go-to office for alumni as it is responsible for providing guidance regarding planning of activities and coordinating the annual plans of the convocation structures, as well as the annual budget, allocation and financial reporting. In conjunction with the Convocation Advisory Board, it will also oversee the activities of substructures and ensures regular reporting on activities. And finally, it is responsible to provide support regarding information carried on the central database located at the Alumni Relations Office. Consistent efforts are made by the Alumni Relations Office to ensure that alumni remain active in the affairs of the institution, and communication with alumni is not and should not be one way. In normal times, face-to-face events are arranged at home and abroad, and other means of communication are also used. With the onset of COVID-19, alternative means were created to ensure efficient contact was maintained with alumni. They proved successful overall, as a number of registrations on the Alumni Connect app demonstrate. UP alumni work in every field imaginable in every corner of the planet, quietly or very publicly, changing the world. One of the duties at the Alumni Relations Office is therefore to take advantage of the high profile and strong reputation enjoyed by the university, to boost news of alumni achievements, and also to create platforms upon which the office can help position the University of Pretoria's alumni as thought and change leaders in local, African, and global society. In so doing, they help the universities towards at least two of its strategic goals: build UP's international profile and global engagement, and highlight UP's social responsiveness and impact on society. This year saw the Alumni Relations team of 4 people focus on a number of goals that strengthened existing projects, while also launching new initiatives aimed at further boosting relations with our alumni. In the strategic plan of the University of Pretoria Alumni Relations Office for 2022, they set themselves 6 goals. Firstly was to maintain, improve and increase innovative ways of connecting with UP alumni locally and internationally. In addition to the 156,000 confirmed email addresses available for communicating with alumni, the Alumni Relations Office also has access to several other tools for connecting and reaching out to our graduates. The main tools are as follows: the social media, the alumni brochure and alumni leaflet, the UP Alumni Connect app, the Alma Matters, Tiki and other email newsletters, the alumni website, international alumni meets, alumni chapters such as the TICS Club 60+, which is the longest running and most active alumni chapter, and the Fahama UP Alumni chapter that was established in 2015 and aims to provide bursary and mentorship support to previously disadvantaged students. And then the launch of a new alumni chapter for the University of Pretoria graduates who have received the Vice Chancellor's Distinguished Merit Award. Then the Mail and Guardian newspaper luncheon, where young members of the University of Pretoria community with special achievements have been celebrated, which this year included 33 UP alumni students and staff members that form part of the Mail and Guardian 200 Young South Africans list of the year's most influential young South Africans. And finally, an updated alumni database. The second goal of the UP Alumni Relations Office was to create platforms for alumni engagement and promote UP alumni as thought leaders. Not too long ago, and especially in response to challenges arising from the global restrictions during the COVID-19 pandemic, the UPP Alumni Relations Office launched various additional and innovative ways which allow for continued virtual engagement to continue engaging with university graduates. Several initiatives that were launched include the following: the UP Alumni Connect platform and app that was launched in 2019 with about 12,000 alumni registered in 2021, which is a significant step in engaging with and reflecting on the employability of graduates in a changing world. This platform and app allow you to both reconnect with old classmates as well as enabling you to utilize the trusted University of Pretoria environment to expand your professional network. Then the online lead UP Alumni Thought Leadership Conversation series that was launched in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic in mid-2020. This highly successful series was created to promote and position UP as a visible, relevant, edgy, and innovative leader on the African continent, and to create a renewed way to engage alumni, encourage involvement in the institution, and build a community of alumni connected to the institution, and also to provide a platform for expert UP alumni, staff, students, and other friends of the UP to use their expertise to analyze current and topical problems facing South Africa, Africa, and the world, thereby positioning UP and its alumni as African and global thought leaders. The 24-panel discussion hosted since May 2020 have recorded over 56,000 views, making this one of the most successful alumni engagements at the institution. Another successful initiative launched was the bi-weekly Lead Up podcast series, which is a series hosted by award-winning radio presenter and UP alumnus Lennox Wasara of Radio 702 and Tux FM, and was launched in 2021. Up to 30 September 2022, it has recorded approximately 8,243 downloads. The series sees prominent University of Pretoria alumni and alumni associates share their top tips for success and the stories behind their climb up the industry ladder. This platform will allow alumni to connect by finding and reminiscing with fellow graduates, to give back by way of introduction, employment, and offering to act as a mentor to UP's graduating students, and to expand by leveraging one's professional network to get introduced to people you should know. Further initiatives are the use of contemporary platforms such as Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube to profile alumni and the success of the institution. All of these initiatives in some or other way provide an opportunity for UP to showcase its outstanding academics and graduates in various industries. More detailed information on these initiatives and new platforms, as well as contact details, can be acquired in the latest report on the activities of the UP Alumni Relations Office in 2022. By fully integrating with all of the social networks and cultivating a culture of helping and giving back, you will be amazed how vibrant your University of Pretoria community is. These strategic goals of the Alumni Relations Office again support the university's strategic goals as set out in the institutional strategic plan, including the need to grow UP's research profile, transform the UP community, promote institutional sustainability, boost UP's international and global engagement, and promote UP as a social responsive institution with an important impact on society. In addition to continuing the focus on all the ongoing 2022 projects that I have outlined, the new projects on the radar of the Alumni Relations Office for 2023 include the UP UK Foundation that will be launched in early 2023, where the Board of Directors is already in place and are now waiting to opening of the foundation bank account. Then, after strategic focus on the United States in 2022, the Alumni Relations Office also intends to make at least 4 international trips next year with the UK and a return to the US in sight, and strategic meetings are planned to connect with alumni and potential donors. The office also plans to launch a series of alumni business breakfasts with the Vice Chancellor in attendance to provide alumni with an opportunity to network with each other, with the VC, and with the Alumni Relations Office team. And finally, is the office also looking into launching alumni professional affinity groups, which would enable alumni to network with fellow graduates who work in the industry or share similar interests. Since the 2021 AGM, the Convocation Advisory Board specifically has further addressed a few key areas of importance in the 2 board meetings it had thereafter. Before I give some brief feedback, it is noteworthy to mention that since 2020, debates and discussions in all meetings were dominated by the COVID-19 pandemic and a way to deal with the challenges that it brought to all levels of society, together with a main concern that much would be lost with UP transforming to only distance education. While we still dealt with some of the pandemic challenges since our last AGM meeting, the fact that activities at the university have been turning back to normal allowed for a positive shift towards addressing and focusing on other key important and non-pandemic related areas to keep enhancing the prosperity and well-being of the university and its entire community. Key areas that I would like to report back on that have been addressed in meetings the last 12 months by the Advisory Board and receive continuous attention include the following. The first key focus area of the Board has been the establishment of the Fundraising Committee, as it is no secret that the University of Pretoria, similar to most academic institutions, faces financial challenges given increasing costs and decreasing support from government. As such, UP is in the process to increase the number of donors and fundraisers through the UP Giving Campaign, a campaign that supplements UP's day-to-day fundraising projects and which was launched recently to increase the number of donors and resuscitate lapsed donors. UP aims to raise 100 million rand over 3 years. There certainly is an opportunity for the Convocation Advisory Board to rally different groups of alumni to contribute to the giving campaign in order to reach 100 million rand. Using the existing list of projects, the board could work hand in hand with others to raise the money and play a role in meeting the challenge of a lack of funding by turning it into an opportunity. As a matter of interest, this year's Giving Day raised 19.5 million rand with over 457 donors participating. And thank you to all that made contributions, irrespective of the amount you have contributed. From the Advisory Board side, the primary objective therefore remains that all alumni and other convocation members work together to support the university in its fundraising efforts. The important thing is to work in a coordinated fashion and avoid overlapping one another and confusing donors, as there are well-defined lists of projects with champions identified for each project, which can be shared with all alumni, who can then indicate which projects they are interested in participating or making donations towards. The fundraising office is the entity that is available to assist with facilitating fundraising initiatives, and a list of projects that have been identified as fundraising priorities is available. If anyone would like to contribute, you could work through Mr. Rikus Delpoort, Director of the Department of Institutional Advancement at UP, or Mr. Hernan Finkel, Deputy Director, Relationship Management and Fundraising, who can put you into contact with the people responsible for driving the specific projects. To achieve our objective in supporting the university in its fundraising efforts in a coordinated fashion, a formal finance and fundraising committee has been established for organized and collaborative larger fundraising efforts. The primary role of the fundraising committee members is to support the Vice-Chancellor and fundraisers at UP in a structured and coordinated manner. The Alumni Relations Office also recently launched the Alumni Benefits Program, and there's a link which can be accessed to sign up. With this program, the Alumni Relations team invested much energy into liaising with departments and faculties through UP's vast network in order to secure special discounts and deals that could be offered to alumni to create a value offering, curate an enjoyable on-campus experience for those who have left campus life behind, and continue to reinforce the bonds between UP and its alumni. A list and more detail about current partnerships can be obtained in the latest 2022 report on the activities of the UP Alumni Relations Office. I encourage all alumni to sign up and also share this with friends and family members so that we can maximize alumni financial support through the university. Every amount, no matter how big or small, will add up to support key projects and activities initiated by the university. Besides an official finance and fundraising committee, it was also suggested to the Vice-Chancellor and supported by him to create professional or constituency-based alumni chapters, as the University of Pretoria needs capacities, especially paid for or volunteer capacities. And it was further suggested that the Convocation Advisory Board will be instrumental in creating and supporting such alumni chapters. For instance, a chapter of professionals such as doctors, engineers, and accountants, as well as chapters for interest groups such as, for example, sport and culture, under which alumni in various ways can provide vital support. And that the Convocation Advisory Board and other convocation members must mobilize their constituents to offer some of these capacities and work with the university. With regards to convocation support on an academic level, it was also suggested at our last board meeting, especially after some recent negative media statements about one of UP's departments, that the different university departments should consider collaborating and engaging more closely with industry partners in all professions, perhaps through the introduction of advisory boards in each faculty that involves persons from all relevant stakeholders, thereby ensuring that purposeful training to create a proper foundation for a successful professional career remains the key driver of establishing and maintaining relevant curriculums across the entire spectrum of high-level tertiary education. I know that there are faculties that have already established such advisory boards with great success. The second very important matter addressed by the advisory board is the activities of a safety and security subcommittee that has been formed under the personal guidance of one of our board members, Mr. David de Villiers, or Zotti like we all know him, together with the late Mr. Louis Klute and Mr. Sandile Mtiani, UP's Chief Operating Officer, to address the ever-increasing concern of student safety and security both on and off campus. Currently, the Safety and Security Subcommittee consists of UP COO, Mr. Mtiani, Mr. Johan Boonsaier of UP's Department of Security Services, Mr. Lucas Lukov, Chief of the Hatfield City Improvement District, and the Tshwane Metro Police, and Mr. Grundy Tiernissen, who's MEC of Community Safety. 50% of the City Improvement District's budget is subsidized by UP, and the private sector provides the rest of the budget. Safety and security are an important and priority area of concern, especially on the Hatfield and Princehof campuses, where the subcommittee is working closely together with Mr. Lucas Lukov and Mr. Johan Boonsaier. More people were already deployed to the Princehof campus, which improved the security and safety situation dramatically, although the long-term problem isn't resolved yet. Two current focus areas of this subcommittee in particular are the possibility of UP centralizing the City Improvement District head office and having satellite campuses where that service can be provided, as well as the implementation of a panic button application that can be used on cell phones, as well as wristbands that is being researched and could be made compulsory for all students. On the City Improvement District side, about 18 security operation officers are on motorcycles, quad bikes, and cars. There are 78 CCTV cameras working 24 hours a day and 80 number plate recognition cameras. The Tshwane Metro Police also came on board 2 years ago, and the Tshwane Metro Police satellite station has been opened in Hatfield. At any given time, there are 44 Metro Police members involved in the City Improvement District area of Hatfield, 4 major police vehicles and 10 bikes, among other interventions, on duty 24 hours a day. The bicycle project involving the Tshwane Metro Police was also launched, and UP bought 14 new bicycles that are manned by the Metro Police. Another item of significance that receives attention and remains an ongoing item on the advisory board's agenda is the initiatives of UP's involvement at school level. In particular, since recently there has been a request of representativity at UP for Eersterus and similar communities. At our last advisory board meeting in September, the Vice-Chancellor and one of our board members, Mr. Campbell, reported back on the progress that was made at an in-person meeting between them and other key parties. The main request from the Eersterus community is that they would like to have UP's non-financial assistance to prepare the children for tertiary education, and provide a venue where the assistance can be offered, similar to what UP has been doing in communities such as Mamelodi and Laudium. Although resources at UP are stretched thin all around, part of the solution for running such a new initiative would be the newly established Pre-University Academy at UP, as this need stretches further than just the Eersterus community. Continued solutions are being discussed between the parties, and it was agreed that mutual mobilization of resources would be required as part of the solution, especially since limited funds and resources to support such projects remain a challenge. Finally, many other items that keep coming up and that are of significant interest to UP and its entire community were and are continuously discussed and debated at our advisory board meetings with very positive contributions and advice, and thereby the board continues to play a pivotal role in its function as an official advisory body in promoting the interests of the institution through formal and structured support and input. Through a recent benchmarking exercise that was conducted to gather insight on the convocation within 3 other institutions, namely Wits University, the University of Johannesburg, and Stellenbosch University, the board also ensured that it better understands the roles and responsibility of the convocation within other institutions. This way, the UP Convocation Advisory Board wants to make sure that they apply all possible means to be most progressive in their support and contributions towards the university's vision, mission, and goals. To conclude, Professor Coupe, I want to thank you, your executive management, and your entire staff component for all the work that you and they are doing, and express my appreciation on behalf of the entire convocation community for the way in which you have adjusted to the new challenges. Hopefully, the advisory board and university convocation members worldwide can assist you and your team in achieving your objectives, and that the common goal would be to see the University of Pretoria, at the very least, become the leading university in South Africa and Africa, and UP alumni thrive on the global stage and in all sectors remain the employers' choice. I also want to once again especially thank those advisory board members who have been and are still involved in key UP-related activities. I think it's with gratitude to see that people in busy professions and still find a way to devote time to voluntarily contribute to the well-being and prosperity of an entity, in this case the University of Pretoria, that they feel passionate about without benefiting or receiving formal recognition themselves. Last but not least, I want to thank those in the larger community of convocation members that provided and still provide assistance in activities that benefit the university. My hope is that more small advisory subcommittees or alumni chapters within specific interest groups that will focus on important UP-related areas and coordinated fundraising could be established. It remains important that UP alumni contribute to the well-being and prosperity of the university under properly aligned and governed structures. I want to encourage all alumni members to be proactive and not wait for the advisory board to initiate initiatives. Therefore, please get involved and reach out to me through the Alumni Relations Office should you have any suggestions or concerns that you would like to table at the convocation meetings, or contact the Alumni Office directly if you want to make yourselves available where you think you can positively contribute towards activities that will allow the University of Pretoria to maintain and even further improve on its highly rated status in the global educational environment. I thank you. Now, with that, we can then move to item 6 of the agenda, where we look forward to the address by the Vice-Chancellor and Principal, Professor Tawana Coupe. Professor Coupe.
Inspiring address. You actually covered quite a number of things that they've covered, so thank you for that. I'll just and then address a few other and more comprehensive issues, if you like. As you said, I could elaborate on them. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming to this AGM, because I think that it shows commitment to your alma mater. And we need every alumnus of the university to actually support, as the chairperson said, support their alma mater and work together with us. I'd like also to thank the chairperson of and the deputy chairperson and the advisory board of Convocation as a whole. Also, I'd like to thank our alumni relations and the broader Department of Institutional Advancement. So allow me to start with what I call state of the university, which is a high level of, if you wanted to ask me as your vice chancellor and principal, how is the university? Which is what often when I meet people, they ask me, how is the university? So the university is in a very strong position in what is often a difficult operating environment with uncertainties and complexities. Our chairperson alluded to one, the financial situation, not the financial management of the university, the financial situation in relation to the economy in general, and also in relation to the funding that we get from the government, which is, if you like, declining all of the time, and the economic situation exacerbates student debt. So if you ask me, those are the two things that keep myself and executive management awake at night. But otherwise, in relation to the university's management of its finances, is investments that are managed out of our investment community, we do actually very, very well. The chairperson also alluded to our new strategic plan, Destination 2026 and beyond. Convocation should know we operate on 5-year strategic plans, which will take us to 2025, if you like. And the chairperson actually alluded to some of the strategic goals. Last year, the Council of the University passed a new 5-year strategic plan, the one I call Destination 2026 and beyond. This new strategic plan has 5 pillars: student success, student access and success, increasing our research profile, global engagement and impact, a transformed, inclusive and equitable university, institutional sustainability, and responsiveness and impact to society. Those strategic pillars will drive us going forward. And you will notice that in all of the strategic pillars, the idea of sustainability and the idea of impact is central to that. In order to socialize, if you like, and to make everybody aware of this new 5-year strategic plan, I undertook 10 2-hour sessions to actually engage different stakeholders in the university, from academics to students to professional and administrative services, where I would present the plan and then we'd have a discussion and suggestions. They were very wonderful sessions, a lot of rich suggestions from staff members across the board and students on what we could do to make ourselves a more successful, contextually relevant university that is impactful in relation to creating a better life for everyone in South Africa, our continent, and the world. The chairperson also alluded to the teaching and learning situation, which some alumni often ask me about, post the COVID, or in the 3rd year of COVID, where COVID is much more, if you like, not as violent as it was in 2020 and 2021. We've largely, particularly in this semester, which is just ended in terms of teaching and learning, exams start soon, we've largely returned to contact-based teaching, but as University of Pretoria, we always infuse elements of online even when we are contact-based. We call it hybrid teaching and learning, but we are back on the ground, back in the classroom, if you like, and this was very, very vitally important. Remember, Convocation, person who started first year in 2020 was never on the university campus for the next 2 years. And when I did a welcome ceremony for students to be back on campus, they were so delighted and so happy because finally they could, in their 3rd year, for those who started in 2020, be physically on campus and benefit not only from classroom learning, but from the networking, collaborations and engagement with other students on the campus itself, which is the value, if you like, of a contact-based university that is also residential. That meant also sports could start. And as I will tell you now, and as the chairperson alluded to, we've been doing fantastically well on the sporting fields. And research and global engagement and our standing globally, we are doing also very, very well. The University of Pretoria is one of the largest producers of research. Normally, the competition is between the University of KwaZulu-Natal and the University of Pretoria. The other year, UJ, I think, also entered the space. But for the last 15, 16, if not 17 years now, actually, UP and the University of KwaZulu-Natal have traded the top spot in terms of being large producers of research. And that is vitally very important, given the University of Pretoria is also one of the largest and the largest contact and residential university in South Africa. This year, our head count is 56,600 students. We have 9 faculties, as you know, the most comprehensive offering in South Africa, and we also have 12,000 beds in our residencies across 29 residencies. We also, at the University of Pretoria, part of our DNA, part of our strategy is not just teaching, learning, and research, it's also engagement, social engagement, and giving back to societies. At least 33,000 of our students, actually 33,000 was what we were in 2019. My latest check shows that 41,000 students are involved in community engagement, either through the curriculum, that means through their degree, or in voluntary activities, which means also we produce students who are socially rounded, conscious beyond themselves, and also giving back to society. We are also rising in the rankings. There is a ranking in which we, this year, there was a decline, but otherwise, and among the 10 rankings that we experienced this year, including the ranking that was released just last week, we are actually rising in those rankings in very, very fantastic ways. In sport also, we've done very, very well. We beat Stellenbosch at Stellenbosch with some of our alumni watching, and this was the second year running that we could actually become the rugby champions in the intervarsity sports. Our netball teams won in intervarsity sports. Our athletes triumphed in the Commonwealth Games, where 45% of South Africa's medals came from either UP alumni or UP students in swimming, in judo, as well as on the athletic field. We also had a very exciting development this year. Our long-serving Chancellor, Professor Wiseman Kuhlu, a very respected gentleman, after 13 years of being Chancellor, stood down. And so we had a chance to elect a new Chancellor, and we elected Emeritus Justice Sisi Kampempe, a former Constitutional Court judge, a woman of immense achievements, and who has actually made a huge contribution to society. We also had an inauguration ceremony for the Chancellor. And so we're happily here now with our new Chancellor, and she has already conducted some graduations. I had the pleasure of accompanying her to the first graduation, and she came to the principal's concert, and I understand she's coming to the Academic Achievers Awards, which are on Thursday. Then in the autumn graduation ceremony, which is a big ceremony, in April and in April, May, we graduate over 12,000 qualifications were awarded. Ladies and gentlemen, just get an idea of what the scale is here. There are several, at least 10 South African universities that do not have an enrollment of 12,000 students a year. But UP graduates at least 12,000 graduates in one graduation season. There's another graduation season in September, the one the Chancellor attended for the first time. It's much smaller, but it's another 5,000, 6,000 people. Then there's a small graduation for the human rights degrees in December. So we continue to provide, to be one of the leaders in providing human capital to South Africa, including specifically also in the critical skills area. Our ambition in our strategic goal is to be 54% enrollment in the STEM fields. In that regard, our new enrollment plan, the review thereof, the government signs an enrollment plan with us, which is how we are also funded. They had a mid-year a review plan this year, and ours was they budgeted 2 hours to review the plan. It only took 30 minutes, and it has been approved. We reaffirmed our desire to be a university that is 54% STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics in that area, because those are vital areas needed for the critical skills that South Africa needs to to advance. So in partnerships and collaborations, we are also growing in strengths in a very beautiful way. I'll just give you two examples. We signed an institutional agreement between the university and the South African Guide Dogs Association for the Blind. They didn't have a research partner and an institutional partner. So 4 of our faculties, including humanities, will participate in the research that actually helps in the training, socialization of guide dogs. And guide dogs are vitally important for people who are visually impaired. And this relationship is going from strength to strength. The second example is that you might not know this, I didn't know it as well, that there's a World Association of Electoral Bodies that represents all the independent electoral commissions, well, in those countries where, like in South Africa, we call them independent. They are not always called that across the world. There's a global association for that. Countries are asked to lead that association for 2 years at a time. The last leader of that association was India. But on the 1st of October, South Africa became the leader of World Electoral Associations. And I got a telephone call from the IEC saying they would like actually to leave a legacy after the presidency of South Africa, which is people who are trained in electoral management with also manner of skills, financial management, voter control, voter management, all of those things. And they decided to choose the University of Pretoria as that partner. So we're going to roll out new programs in electoral management and in the various disciplines that are in electoral management in that regard. These are but two examples of partnerships and collaborations with organizations in society in order to ensure that we are an impactful university. We also, for the first time this year, we had become members of the Worldwide Universities Network. The Worldwide Universities Network is a group of, at present, 25 research-intensive universities across the world and across all of the continents. We became a member this year. I went to the AGM and the partnership board. And they were very, very well received. In fact, most of the other 24 members wanted to actually had a discussion with myself and wanted an association with the University of Pretoria. Some have already visited us post my visit. It was in Switzerland, in Lausanne, and some are coming next year. And that means our global stature is actually growing as well. We are also members of the University Industry Innovation Network, which is, again, a network of hundreds of universities across the world, with only 2 in Africa. That is the University of Pretoria and a university in Uganda. This network helps universities understand and improve their relationships with industry and how universities can translate their research into innovative industry-ready products, policies, and processes, and we're going to play a very key role in that regard. We also have had lots of relationships and signed agreements with universities in the rest of Africa, in the UK, in the US, in Canada, in Japan, in Australia, and New Zealand. And next year you will see a huge inflow of visitors, my counterparts, other vice chancellors and presidents, as they call themselves, of the other universities coming to the University of Pretoria. So next year in May, we'll run something called Africa Week, where all of our African and global partners will be present for a week on this very campus that the chairperson and deputy chairperson are addressing you from. And this will again cement our status as a leading research-intensive university in Africa, one that is internationally recognized, and that is also one that is recognized for developing people and for impact, for making a difference locally and globally. You might have seen on your television channels the U.S. Secretary of State, Mr. Anthony Blinken, addressing us again from this venue that we are talking to you from, which is the Future Africa Institute. This is the third or fourth world leader to actually address the rest of the world on their policies and strategies from this. You will recall we have hosted Angela Merkel, former German Chancellor. Last year we hosted Emmanuel Macron, the President of France, and Blinken. And there are several other approaches that have been made to me by various other ambassadors to host world leaders here so they can articulate their relationship with South Africa and Africa. I said already that in relation to research, we're doing very well in terms of productivity. We're rising in the rankings. But I just wanted to explain something that you as alumni might find, especially when some rankings come and we are not as high as you think we should be, and we are not yet number one. One day I hope we'll be number one. First, let me say that the University of Pretoria strategy is not to chase rankings for the sake of rankings. We actually want to run a very balanced operation where if we rise on rankings, it is also because we're addressing that challenges that South Africa faces. Those challenges including producing the appropriate human capital, one. Second, producing the knowledge or creating the knowledge necessary to address things like climate change, sustainable food systems, the burden of diseases, a better economy, addressing unemployment, poverty, and inequality. So those are very, very important for us. That is why we're such a large university. No, some other universities that are in those rankings are not doing the heavy lifting that University of Pretoria does. Let me just give you an example. The University of Pretoria has 12,000 students in the engineering disciplines. No country is developed without human capital in engineering. The Chinese are leaders, have been leaders in recent decades in that area. So 12,000 students, again, in engineering disciplines alone is larger than at least 10 South African universities. And also, when you are large like that, and also it means that you need a number of staff, and the University of Pretoria is unique in this regard. Its staff-student ratio is the highest in South Africa, 1:24.4 at present. If you look at some other universities, with half or less than the students that we have, and even more academics in the ratio is 1:12. I'm not going to mention names today, but at least 2 universities are half the size, the ratio of Pretoria in this regard. So there is some degree of economic efficiencies. Some rankings do not like that, do not like such a size and such a ratio. But so it's very, very important for us at the University of Pretoria that we're sensitive, we do well in what the ratings want, but we are not wholly, if you like, led by the rankings. Then also there are 10 different rankings with different criteria and releasing at different times. Members of the public, including yourselves, must be confused because ranking results are coming out all of the time. And all of the time, the ranking of each university might differ from the last ranking, if you like. And that can actually be confusing. Some rankings collect data from institutions and others do not. We do better in those rankings where there's an objective assessment of the university's performance. There isn't a submission of your own portfolio. Many people have written about the flaws of allowing universities to submit their own data, and the ranking happens there. And we've seen very interesting things happen in that particular space, where the data submitted, it does not really correlate to what we know is on the ground. And so that is, so I'm very pleased, and I'd like to inform you that in those rankings where we don't, the academic ranking of world universities one is often called the Shanghai rankings, and we are improving year on year in that ranking. We actually do very, very well. The ranking where we recently slipped is one of those that accepts submissions. Then there's a second thing that people often do not realize. There are overall rankings, and then there are subject rankings, and there's a big difference. So in the ranking, for example, that we recently seem to decline, when you go to the subject rankings, we made a great improvement. So I'll give you 2 examples. Veterinary science, we're still in the top 100 in the world. Law, we are still in the top 100 in the world at number 78. Our business school in the FT rankings, Financial Times ranking for the executive MBA, for the MBA is actually in the top 100 as well. So is our veterinary school at number 51 in the rankings as well. So sometimes a global ranking does not tell you much, but actually, if you go down to the subject rankings, which is what people actually study, you find a better reference. So you will have noticed also that in recent years, 2 of the oldest rankings, there are 2 rankings that are the oldest. It's the Times Higher Education ranking and the QS ranking. QS were breakaways from the Times Higher Education rankings. Remember also the rankings are a business. They make a lot of money from the ranking business. But in those rankings that measure a university's impact, one is the Times Higher Education ranking, One is the QS Sustainability Ranking, which came out last Wednesday. You will have noticed, ladies and gentlemen, that in those two rankings, the University of Pretoria has done extremely well in both rankings. So the Times Higher Education rankings came out in May this year. In that ranking, the University of Pretoria scored in the top 100 for a number of the sustainable development goals, because that ranking actually uses the sustainable development goals as their ranking. So in 2021, we were in the 200 to 300 band, but this year we moved to the 101 to 200 band. Actually, a big shift. And we're among the top 50 universities in the world on SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. Then in SDG 15, life on land, we're number 30 in the world. We're in the top 100 for SDG 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. I'm delighted about that, number 88. And then in the SDG 17, which is the cross-cutting goal, partnership for the goals, we're number 86 in the world. So all of our partnerships and collaboration initiatives around the world are bearing huge fruit. Remember, they often come with research partnerships, research grants and all of that. As I stand here today, we have students at Montpellier University in France. We have students at Michigan State University in the United States. We have students in Fordham in the Bronx in New York. And in return, there are also students from the Fordham University here at Pretoria. There are students in the Kruger Park from Montpellier University as an exchange. Next year, we're sending 10 PhD students, fully paid for by the Australians, for a year to improve their skills while remaining University of Pretoria students. And we still continue to send students to MIT in the United States. Now for the QS sustainability rankings, again, which measures the impact on environmental, social, and governance challenges of a society, we came out as UP was ranked second in South Africa and Africa, and in the 171 and 180 band globally. And this was the first time this ranking by one of the oldest and largest ranking agencies came out, and we came out at number 2, both in South Africa and in Africa. So I gave you those examples to show that those who worry sometimes that when one ranking comes out, we appear to have declined. It's actually not the whole story. The whole story is UP actually on the rise across many rankings. There are also a South African rating of researchers, and it's called the National Research Foundation, or NRF ratings. UP has the largest number of rated researchers in South Africa, 611. And then a total of in relation to law, let me just give you an example. There is a total of 132 NRF rated researchers in law across 17 universities which teach law, which include UP. UP has 24, UCT has 13, UWC has 13, WITS has 15, Stellenbosch has 12, Northwest University has 10, UNISA has 9, and UJ has 11. Notice that UP is nearly double the number of rated researchers in law than the next university. And I think it goes on. Now, major events and engagements and campaigns. The chairperson actually alluded to some of them, but I'll run you through some of them to show you we've been engaged in major campaigns that are value-adding to the University of Pretoria and also value-adding to South Africa. So we launched a Center for Language Learning. This center teaches people English who come from countries that are not strong in English. This center is also going to teach Swahili. It's going to teach South African languages and others. And also is an income generating. Largest number of students I learned the other day come from Saudi Arabia. I remember negotiating this deal with the Saudi ambassador, because the Saudis want to learn English so that they can access English studies in university studies in English, including at the University of Pretoria. We also launched the Bridges Sustainability Science Coalition. I suspect that being part of that coalition is helping with our impact and sustainability rankings. And we are the hub for Africa for Bridges Sustainability Science Coalition. We launched the Center for the Future of Work, which is to anticipate how technological disruptions are changing the nature of work and creating new jobs. That center is doing a big consultancy for me on flexible work in the university. It's doing work on our curriculum. Today at that center, we launched the Digital Employability Laboratory, which is something as big as this room we are in, which teaches students how to collaborate digitally and improve their employability. We also launched the African Center for the Study of the United States, and we have received our grant of 5 million already. The center is barely 4 or 5 months ago, and in our fundraising, we've raised 5 million already. We also launched the South African SDGs Policy Initiative, which is a partnership anchored at UP and UP's idea, actually, anchored at UP, which is a partnership between UP, the German Embassy and GIZ, their development agency, and the presidency, President Ramaphosa's policy and research initiative. What it does, it throws out research projects to the 26 universities, and the office and the secretariat is UP. Then people bid for that research and then can inform policy. Then also we launched a new research platform and a research magazine. We launched a Vice Chancellor's Entrepreneurship Challenge where you can win 50,000 rand for not just for South Africa, but for 8 other African countries. We launched the Dihang Moseneke Scholarship Fund. Dihang Moseneke is former Constitutional Court judge who's now a professor at UP. We launched the Mamelodi Business Hub in Mamelodi. We also launched the Sustainability Research and Innovation Hub. We launched a new exhibition of artwork curated by Vongi Dlomo at the Javet UP called Yaka Linkomo. And then we've, as the chairperson alluded to, our UP podcast series and webinar series actually continue. We also hosted here at this facility the first panel discussing and dinner of South African Chancellor's University Forum. I hosted them here at our dining room where we discussed strategies towards addressing student debt and student funding more globally. I'm pleased to report that as of the end of September, the fundraising team, which works with me, has surpassed its 2022 target of 150 million, where we were currently sitting a week ago at 192 million. I'll tell you what the figure is as of this afternoon. The next milestone was to surpass the stretch target of 200 million. We're actually now at 219, I've been told this afternoon. So we've even exceeded the stretch target. And as by the end of the year, we have a pipeline of another perhaps 100 million or so. This afternoon, I received confirmation that a 150 million bid I've put in the UK is being considered by the board. If we get that, we easily, I think we might end this year having reached ₹500 million in fundraising over and above the 19 million that the chairperson mentioned from the 20 University Giving Day, where we want to increase the number of donors, and chairperson said 457. And also, we also launched another scheme to increase the number of fundraisers at the University of Pretoria. So we're running a training exercise called the pitching exercise for academics and others to do that. I think we're doing a pitching exercise later, sometime next week. Many of our professors, academics, and others have received prizes and awards and recognition. By the way, we also awarded 4 SACHI chairs by the Department of Science and Innovation. SACHI means South African Research Initiative Chair, professor who the government pays the salary for, pay for bursaries for their students, and money for research. So we got 4 chairs this year. 1 or 2 of those chairs are co-funded. Professor Michael Wingfield won the Harry Oppenheimer Fellowship Award, 2 million rand. Professor Jerry Pillay, this is good and bad news. Our Dean of the Faculty of Theology and Religion was elected the General Secretary of the World Council of Churches, the 9th person in the world to be appointed. So we'll be moving over to Switzerland in Geneva next year, and we're looking for a new dean. UP won 2 international awards for using technology to ensure student success. UP alumni Emery Brown was appointed the CEO of Rand Merchant Bank. We also made a series of senior appointments. Professor Loretta Ferris was appointed Vice Principal Academic, previous Vice Principal retired Prof. Duncan. Professor Sunil Maharaj was appointed Vice Principal Research, Innovation and Postgraduate Education. Professor Vinny Naidu was reappointed for a second term as Dean of Veterinary Sciences. We're the only university in South Africa that has a veterinary sciences faculty. The next one you'll find in Zimbabwe, the next one in Tanzania. Professor Maurice Mtombeni was appointed Dean, Gordon Institute of Business Science, our business school in Johannesburg, and Professor Salosha Vandaya was appointed Deputy Dean for Research and Postgraduate Education Studies in the Faculty of Education. Let me end, as I normally do, at the council meetings and the Convocation Advisory Board, to again reiterate that we are cementing our standing as the sporting powerhouse of South Africa and Africa. Remember, we were the only university with a high performance center. We won rugby for the second year running. Our students and athletes have won athletics competitions in South Africa, in Europe, and also at the Commonwealth Games, and the same applies to swimming as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, the university is in a very, very strong position, improving its standing all of the time and leading in a number of areas. Thank you very much.
Professor Tawana Kupe, thank you for informing our members on important university achievements, projects and other activities and matters of note. And thank you for the passionate and professional way in which you and your executive management are managing this institution and have adjusted to many new challenges. Now, before we close the meeting with final remarks, we will now, under item 7, just have a question and answer session, which will be facilitated by the Deputy Chairperson of the Convocation Advisory Board, Ms. Notsifo Dlamini.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Q&A session of our AGM. I will now extend all the questions that were sent up front to Prof. Kupe and Dr. Costa. And you are encouraged to please send as many of the questions as possible on the chat box. We'll try to cover as much of them as possible in this session. If we are unable to, we will definitely get the alumni office to get back to you. So I'll start with the first one from Ms. LG Muletane, and this one is addressed to you, Prof. Kupe. How are mental health challenges that students face handled by the university? I have heard of pressures that lecturers are putting on students, through most of it being unbearable emotionally, which leads to students having suicidal thoughts. So how is the university addressing that challenge?
We take our students' well-being very seriously, and we have several support structures in place to assist them. In fact, mental health and well-being is, and I like that you asked this question, is a global issue across all universities. So it's something that all vice-chancellors and staff at universities have up front. So what we do at the university is that as part of our student affairs division, we have a number of counselors, and we're increasing the number of counselors every year. They're not generally not enough, if you want to ask me. But what we have done to augment the number of counselors is to use and contract external services, and also to use a digital tool, a digital website called Scooby, which I'll speak about last. So staff and students are regularly reminded that the UPK line is available around the clock every day, around the clock every day of the week. Via this service, our mental health partners, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, you might know them, SANDAG, students and staff can speak to a counselor confidentially by calling the number 0800-747-747. We also invite our students to send an email to studentcounseling@up.ac.za. Now also as part of the COVID innovations and part of our innovation in general at Invest, we're using lots of digital tools. So we created a website with an IA-driven counseling thing called Scooby. So what Scooby will do is that you can interact with Scooby as a student, and also Scooby can then say that to you also that you need actually, in a sense, to approach the human counseling services of the university. So what we're really doing is expanding the existing university services subject to the various ways in which we have to balance services in the universities because of income challenges. Then second, using external contracted services like Sandak, and then using digital tools. The students, by the way, also have their own peer group counseling sessions and using WhatsApp and other related digital tools. It is a serious challenge, but the university is aware of it, it's handling it and expanding its services all of the time.
Thank you, Prof. That gives us a lot of comfort. This next one is from Dr. Leonard Mahlari, and it's addressed to you, Dr. Costa. And it's, are alumni members able to serve on the Convocation board? Please clarify the process. And if you are not a member of the board, how can you contribute to the board effectively?
Well, first thing is, yes, Convocation advisory board members are appointed from the Convocation, and they are alumni. The process obviously is as follows. I mean, it's a very well-governed election process where call is first sent out via email and notification in the media to the Convocation for nominations for alumni to serve on the Convocation advisory board. Now, these nominations are then verified, and then the candidates are voted for by the Convocation. And the vote is actually, it's a appointability of the candidates. And so after the election is closed, there's a members committee that consists about the principal, the chairperson of the council, as well as myself as president of the Convocation. And this members committee then would appoint the final candidates. Now, the members of the advisory board will serve for a term of 4 years and will be eligible for reappointment for maximum of 2 terms. In other words, 8 years. And then alumni can, the question is also whether alumni, where they can support if they're not on the advisory board. Yes, we certainly engage or want alumni to support the advisory board through the involvement of many university activities, such as, for example, supporting mentorship programs, serving on the advisory boards of the different faculties, participating in guest lectures, and then, as previously mentioned, also donating to the UP Giving campaign.
Thank you, Dr. Costa. The next one, Prof, is addressed to you and is from Ms. Ethel Dambola. And the question is it possible to invite graduates who completed their qualifications during the COVID-19 period to the traditional graduation ceremony?
Yeah, a tough one that, and it's something that perhaps you remember what I alluded to. We sincerely hoped after the first year of COVID that COVID would last a year at most, and then we'll be able to resume our physical graduations. But as you know, it lasted a whole 2 years. Now, here is the problem. More than 10,000 students annually graduate. In fact, this year it was 12,000. In fact, 10,000 is a lower number. Even in 2019, when I became Vice Chancellor, it wasn't 10,000, it was 11,000. Let me say on average over the last 3 years, 4 years, we've graduated on average 11,000 students a year, 12,000 this year. So here is the logistical challenge. Is that, and let me give you a picture of what happens at UP. UP is the only university in South Africa where graduations happen every day over a whole month with at least 2 graduations to complete the 12,000. And then there's a mini graduation in September and December. So the sheer number of graduates is practically impossible to have traditional graduation ceremonies for those who missed out during the pandemic. We are not here. This makes us very sad because we enjoy the graduations. It's the fruits of what the institution does. I gladly attend my graduations, and some of you, if you have graduated with another degree before, you would have seen me. It is for this reason that the university hosted online graduation ceremonies. What pleased us with those ceremonies, they were not just online, particularly in 2020, in 2021, what we did also was to allow people to come onto campus to put on their gown, collect their certificates, and to take pictures as usual. What was missing was just the on-stage presence, if you like. So if you look at 2020 and 2021, you're actually talking about at least 24,000 people who would need to graduate. So we would need another month. And also the cost that actually goes with it. Yeah. So that's the only impediment. Otherwise, we'd be very keen to do that. If we were much smaller universities, would have rolled them out by now. Yeah.
It's the sheer size of all our graduates.
Yeah. So I always say it's funny because on the one hand, that is a good thing. On the other, for that personal experience, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, you miss it. Prof, here's another good question from Ms. Palisa Nuku. Will there be any means made available to fund alumni who have got outstanding fees? This is mainly because of the fact that they may not be able to get decent jobs or decent paying jobs, if at all, without the qualification or the proper documentation. Also, we are unable to pay the fees because of the unemployment status, so it's a double-edged sword. So is there any assistance that you can offer?
So currently, to be quite frank and sadly, so there's no funding available for alumni in the manner the question is asked, apart from making loans available and assisting with payment plans. So if you owe us something, we have a small loan book at UP, which is available for current students as well as alumni, but we can also make payment plans. So if you owe us 10,000 Rand and you can't pay it in one go, you don't have to. You actually should come to us and sign a payment plan. Students who have completed their studies and they found a job can request the university to send information regarding their qualifications directly to the company or the employer that the student has applied to. So there is an existing arrangement where you are not prejudiced for employment purposes. What you might not get is the actual document itself, especially the certificate. That's, if you like, for lack of better word, the surety we hold so that the money is paid. But you can also, again, as I said, sign a payment plan with us. Yeah. This is very, very important because uncollected monies constitute the student debt that we have. Uncollected monies also deprive the institution of providing that quality education to the next student.
Yeah, that's true, Prof. This one is from Mr. Fana Mazibugo, and I'll address it to you, Dr. Costa, to say, does one have to renew their convocation membership?
No, it's not necessary to renew your convocation membership. Once you are a convocation member, then you remain one. And I think one gets the idea there's a lot of people that still don't quite understand what the convocation is. And it's basically, the convocation consists of all persons who immediately before the commencement of the statute were members of the convocation of the university. So this includes people or groups such as the principal, vice principals, dean of faculties, the various deans, then also current academic employees, other retired academic employees, professors emeriti, and then obviously the alumni that have obtained a qualification at the University of Pretoria as approved by the Senate and Council, obviously, and then any other such persons that the Council may determine. So once you fall in that category, there's no need to renew any membership.
All right. It's for life.
Encourages people, obviously, that they participate, that they know that there are convocation members or alumni, and we just like to see them participate.
Thank you, Dr. Costa. Ladies and gentlemen, you are encouraged to please send through your questions on the chat box, and we will try to cover as many of them as possible. If we are unable to, the alumni office will definitely get back to you personally with your specific question. We did receive a question now on the chat box that I will post to you, Prof. Kupe, and it says, thank you for growing and developing excellence in our alma mater. It is such a privilege to be associated with UP. How can I donate to the Principal's Fund for Students in Need, and is there such a fund?
There is such a fund, and you can do so by actually on our website. There's a place where it says donate here, and then you can actually make your electronic transfers there. Also, if that for any reason does not work, you can also email the Alumni Relations Office or the Department of Institutional Advancement. Yeah.
Okay. Now, great stuff. I think we have a few more minutes to take one or two extra questions. So again, you are encouraged to post as many of them as possible on the chat box, and we'll get back to you if we are unable to get to them. This one is from Mr. Mhlengu Mabaso. Again to you, Prof. Kupe. What are the benefits of being an alumni at UP?
Okay, yeah. So UP alumni gets access to an exclusive network that is invaluable. As you have known by now, once you are out there, moving from job to job, even professional fulfillment is through networks. So that is why, you know, joining Alumni Connect, participating, as the president says, you get to meet other people. You get to know opportunities you didn't know. You might even get to do business with people that actually you didn't know before. So that's very, very important. Alumni may join the UP Alumni Connect app platform, where they can, for instance, access jobs. We advertise jobs here, job opportunities. They may attend alumni events and networking opportunities. They may also join UP's alumni benefits programs, which gives them access to library and discounts at the Javet UP Art Center, one of the best art centers in the world, the HPC Gym, the High Performance Center and Hotel, and the Time Out Cafe, among other benefits. So really staying part of the family, as the president says, pays for all.
Thank you. I'll take a last one, and this one is from Dr. RVM van der Walt. It's two questions. The first one is, what is UP's ranking amongst universities? Why is UP's ranking amongst universities steadily declining? And the second one is, how was a PhD candidate admitted to UP with an alleged suspect master's degree and was dismissed from UFH?
So I think the first one I did answer in my remarks earlier on. UP is actually rising on all of the rankings. By the way, with the rankings, sometimes there is a small drop in 1 year. For that particular ranking, to be specific, it was citations, which is 30% of the ranking. Citations also change on a year-by-year basis. So you might find next year will also rise. And also the rankings fluctuate with the number of universities in the system. With regard to the gentleman who was dismissed from the University of Fort Hare, we have investigated this matter. The university complied with its admission requirements set out in its general rules at the time when the candidate applied for admission for a doctoral degree at the faculty, and that was way back in 1999. Then his MBA at the time that he did looked all kosher, except that a year later, unbeknown to us, the US government and its regulatory authorities declared that that university was doing certain things that way. But in relation to the PhD itself, he did it, and he did it properly. It was examined properly, and he earned the degree rightfully.
All right, thanks, Prof. Maybe let me take this one from Dr. Baba Lasoja. What is done by the university to improve supervision capacity? If a student applies for a master's or a PhD, the possibility is that they will have to wait because there are not enough supervisors. The ones available must first lecture and try to finish up with the students that are on the system.
That has been an existing capacity constraint, but we're now addressing it. University has allocated additional resources for the appointment of more academic staff. So for this year, here I might be jumping the gun. President and I are members of council. At the end of this, in about 23 days, we have a council meeting where we will present the budget. In the budget, there's an ask of 20 million for new academic staff to increase. In the interim, and we do that almost every year, except for the first year of COVID, because of the situation, we didn't. So on average, every year, we use 20 million to appoint more academics in order to increase capacity. There's a second thing we're doing in the interim. We can hire retired people with supervision capacity for precisely supervision duties, and we pay them accordingly, and we have a contract accordingly.
All right. No, thank you, Prof. Do I still have time for one more question? Awesome. Maybe let me take, let's just see. There's quite a number of them. There's one for the president, so let's just scroll up to one for, I think I've covered all the ones for the president. Yeah. Maybe this one, Prof, it's coming from Ms. Mandi Sambele. Is there a way we can minimize tuition fees?
Okay, I wish. I'll tell you why. As both the president and myself said, we have a big problem in relation to government, the portion of government funding. Let me just explain how universities are funded. We're a public university, so we are funded in this way. Tuition fees from the students, right? And then government grants and subsidies for each of the students we have and for certain activities, including infrastructure. Here is the problem we face. After the Fees Must Fall campaign in 2015-2016, governments now limit the tuition fees that we do. So in fact, what the member is asking for is already being done. Normally, we don't increase our fees by 5%, but our costs are larger than 5%, and often 5% increase in fees is lower than inflation, right? Second, the government grants and subsidies are not increasing by inflation and are in fact declining. Last week, I got the shock of my life. The grants that were given for this year were further cut last week when I'm already 2 months away from completing the year. But at the very least, 182 million, if not 200 million. I can't afford to reduce the tuition fees. I need every rand and every cent I need to continue to give the quality education that everybody has benefited from if you are alumni and everybody is benefiting with your current students. So we really have to work together here. Modest tuition increases and continue to ensure that government perhaps gives us more. Then we have a third source of funding, which is the fundraising that we do. And also, as the president and myself said, we need, again, everybody to hold hands and to make whatever contribution they can actually make.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for the questions that were sent. Please remember, you can still send more questions. You can send them to the alumni office at alumni@up.ac.za, and you will receive the responses as soon as possible.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, as we reach the end of tonight's session, please allow me to close this meeting by once again thanking each and every one that made time to join and attend this live virtual 2022 Convocation AGM meeting. Without your interest, support and participation, this convocation cannot function in the way we want it to function. We hope that you will continue to show the same interest towards your alma mater through whatever contribution you would want to make in the best interest of the university and its activities to soon become the #1 academic institution on the African continent, and at the very least maintain its standing in the years to come. As an UP alumnus, it is in your best interest, as you will definitely benefit directly or indirectly if you all help grow and strengthen this institution's reputation and achievements. Furthermore, I also want to thank our 2 official participants in the program who joined me in the studio tonight for your valuable contributions in making this meeting such a success. Firstly, Professor Tawana Kupe, as the Acting Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University, I have thanked you, your executive management and your entire staff component earlier in my address for all the work that you and they are doing, and again after your address for informing our members on important university achievements and about other activities and matters of note. At the same time, I also want to use this opportunity to reassure you that the Convocation Advisory Board would like to continue to assist you and the UP executive in achieving the objectives of our common goal to see the university and UP alumni thrive on the global stage in all sectors, on all official ranking lists, and remain high in the category of employers' reputation. Secondly, Ms. Notsifo Dlamini, Deputy Chairperson of the Convocation Advisory Board, thank you for facilitating the question and answer session and the professional manner you have handled this, as well as for your support to me as Chairperson and the expertise you bring to our board. In her absence, I also want to thank Professor Caroline Nicholson, the Registrar of UP, for the professional manner she runs her key position at UP. Thank you also for being the key driver behind the smooth and fair running of the different convocation election processes and ensuring that proper protocol and guidelines are always followed through different processes and activities of the convocation up to the very end. We know the university is in good hands with you being its registrar. Last but not least, I want to thank Ms. Samantha Castle, UP Senior Manager, Alumni Relations, for not only being a key driver behind the scenes of having made this meeting such a successful event, but also for the professional way in which you oversee and manage UP's alumni matters through the Alumni Relations Office. Your efforts are much appreciated. I want to once again encourage Convocation members to get involved and reach out via the Alumni Relations Office if you have concerns or suggestions that you would like to table at Convocation meetings or other official platforms. Also contact the office in particular if you want to get involved in, for example, assisting with fundraising campaigns and donations, developing partnerships, supporting alumni events and alumni chapters, starting relevant interest groups and mentoring students. Thank you, stay safe wherever you are and have a good day or evening further. Thank you.
There are some places that will always be home. From the moment you took your first step onto the University of Pretoria's campuses, you've been part of our family. You've made friends, had a good time, fallen in and out of love, passed tests, failed some dismally, and started businesses. You had some great ideas. All the while, you made memories and learnt a lot. But in the end, you walked out of our gates a well-rounded person, someone committed to excellence. You still get things done the right way the first time. You've learned the value of innovation, mentoring, having a positive impact, and living a life based on strong morals, ethics, hard work, and responsibility. At the University of Pretoria, we're proud to call you part of our family. We're proud to be your alma mater, and we'd be delighted if you wanted to choose UP again to further your studies. Because even though we're the largest residential research university in South Africa, we're still your home. One thing we've learned over more than a century is that excellence is forever. We're still adamant in the high quality of our teaching and learning, and in the graduates that we produce. The more things change, the more they stay the same. UP will always be the home of Tux alumni.